I believe that every movie adheres to the 29-point story structure. No matter if the writer outlines first or dives in blind, the end product follows the same 29 beats. The Dark and the Wicked is my exhibit V. This atmospheric, claustrophobic haunting horror beat out strong contenders in a Twitter poll. The indie feel adds to the rustic environment, and the minimalist lighting draws the audience in. Director Brian Bertino utilizes silence and ambience like a master illusionist. Nevertheless, this 2020 horror flick aligns perfectly with the familiar 29 plot beats that this channel is founded upon. The sequences run faster as the second act hits the midway mark, and the third act sprints by in only 15 minutes, yet it holds true to the prescribed structure. Check out the sequence times in the comment section of every video. Let's begin. A tight focus on the core elements of the protagonist's personality, inner conflict, and situation. Virginia tends the farm and the house while David lies dying. Louise receives a chilly welcome when she arrives to mourn early, then ventures out to find Michael and Charlie tending the farm, confirming things aren't well. Where, why, and how the protagonist exists in their world, with a focus on why they don't quite fit in. Virginia, seemingly racked with guilt, commands her children to leave. Louise and Michael ponder their guilt for moving away, for staying away. A singular event that's never happened before, and is destined to lead the protagonist away from their status quo. Louise experiences the paranormal phenomenon from the opening scene. An examination of what's different in light of the something new, what's the same in spite of it in relation to the status quo. Virginia's concerns deepen, and she repeats her command that her children leave at once. The discovery that things are less than ideal, or an exploration of how badly things are. Virginia proceeds to chop and dice her fingers. Then Louise finds her hanging in the barn. Something is definitely amiss around here. Characters dedicate their effort to a specified goal, which is smaller in scope than the primary objective of the third act. Everyone carries on with the work as directed, and Louise takes over as her father's in-home caretaker, carrying on that work as well. A brief checklist of the story elements needed for the second act. Virginia's place, her personal existence, parental hopes and dreams for the future, the struggles of livestock and battling stubborn wills, and the different symptoms of grief and guilt and regret. The singular event that launches the protagonist into the wild jungle of the second act, also called an oh shit moment. Louise hallucinates a freakish moment with her father. Ooh shit. Characters must learn all new rules and expectations distinct to this adventure. Louise channels Virginia's reluctance to talk about what happened. Michael finds her diary, and their father's slow death is explained as the devil himself. Characters showcase their ability to grow in the areas this adventure requires, typically through external means. Louise and Michael face their mother's body for paperwork purposes, and they're handed the crosses Virginia kept in her pockets, deepening the mystery of this seemingly non-religious woman. Then Louise encounters another disturbing hallucination. Characters face legitimate and understandable reasons to deviate from their stated convictions, agendas, or desires. Michael experiences the haunting, both physical and hallucinatory, shaking his skepticism. An escalation of problems that vex the characters. The haunting intensifies, and a gravelly priest warns Louise and Michael that their atheism won't save them from the devil. Characters evolve internally by utilizing everything they've gathered and learned. Louise understands that her mother wasn't crazy, and Michael admits to what he experienced. They're honest, yet more importantly, talking. Journey-weary characters reconcile the reality of their ongoing situation with who they were in the first act. The haunting gets strong enough to haunt both siblings at once, to engage and interact and tempt. A singular event that strikes at the protagonist's core conflict. The haunting can get strong enough to lead its victim to suicide, likely to be Louise and Michael's dual fates. Characters find a safe harbor that also provides needed answers for both external and internal conflicts. Louise contacts the priest, who denies being anywhere near Texas, and Michael can't convince the doctor to move David to a hospital. The clarified objective is realized in part or in whole, though it's meaningless without the completion of the primary objective. David's nurse confirms that Louise and Michael are doing everything they can, but there are wicked things that have their own agenda. An existential conflict that wounds the character's sense of self, worldly identity, or their journey. A single maimed goat returns home alone, which leads Louise and Michael to a field of slaughtered livestock, which they know wasn't wolves. With the nurse's words still in his ear, Michael refuses to leave alone the few goats left of the herd. An undeniable win for the protagonist, typically in direct connection to the rebirth. Alone in the barn, Michael survives an attempt on his life. A grand loss directly connected to the character's newfound inability to quit the journey. Louise witnesses an attack on David. A thematic freefall tied directly to the heavy price. Louise can't find Michael, then learns of Charlie's suicide. A singular event that robs the protagonist of seemingly any chance of success. Louise's visitor reveals herself as part of the haunting, taunting her for being all alone. Characters cannot return to their starting personas and must turn to face the primary objective. Louise cannot leave like Michael did, and must now deal with the haunting by her lonesome. Almost lonesome. Characters move towards the climax while utilizing the major swings and sneaky misdirections of the story. The haunting claims the sanity and life of David's nurse, then proves that distance isn't safety as it finally takes out Michael too. The final confrontation between the protagonist and the antagonistic force. Louise comes to and tries to run, tries to escape. The singular event where the protagonist finally confronts their place in the status quo. Despite her overwhelming fear, Louise cannot bring herself to let her father die alone. The direct aftermath of the climax. Louise battles every temptation to leave David's side. The consequences of the climax in relation to other characters and the status quo. Louise doesn't let David die alone, and he takes his final raspy breaths with his daughter by his side. A tight focus on the protagonist contrasted from the opening. Louise is attacked by David's zombie, I think? And there you have it. My 20-second example to support my argument that all movies follow the exact same story structure, regardless of how the writer approaches their craft. The Dark and the Wicked raced through its third act, yet it made sure to tag every single beat of the 29-point story structure along the way. But does this tragic tale of guilt haunting follow the same plot beats as a cult favorite comedy about a rug that really tied the room together? Yes, it arguably does. Next on my docket, The Big Lebowski. Please subscribe to stay up to date with this and future videos, and please like and comment with your thoughts and reactions. I'll talk to you next time.